Chapter 1. Laying Plans. Cao Kung, in defining the meaning of the Chinese for the title of this chapter, says it refers to the deliberations in the temple selected by the general for his temporary use, or, as we should say, in his tent. See SS 26. 1. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are 1. The moral law, 2. Heaven, 3. Earth, 4. The commander, 5. Method and discipline." It appears from what follows that Sun Tzu means by moral law a principle of harmony, not unlike the Tao of Lao, Zut in his moral aspect. One might be tempted to render it by morale, were not considered as an attribute of the ruler in SS 13. 5. 6. The moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. Tu Yu quotes Wang Zhu as saying without constant practice, the officers will be nervous and undecided when mustering for battle. Without constant practice, the general will be wavering and irresolute when the crisis is at hand. 7. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. The commentators, I think, make an unnecessary mystery of 2 words here. Ming Shi refers to the hard and the soft, waxing and waning of heaven. Wang Shi, however, may be right in saying that what is meant is the general economy of heaven, including the 5 elements, the 4 seasons, wind and clouds, and other phenomena. 8. Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. 9. The commander stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerely, benevolence, courage, and strictness. The 5 cardinal virtues of the Chinese are 1. Humanity or benevolence, 2. Uprightness of mind, 3. Self-respect, self-control, or proper feeling, 4. Wisdom, 5. Sincerity or good faith. Here, wisdom and sincerity are put before humanity or benevolence, and the 2 military virtues of courage and strictness substituted for uprightness of mind and self-respect, self-control, or proper feeling. 10. By method and discipline are to be understood the marshalling of the army in its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. 11. These 5 heads should be familiar to every general. He who knows them will be victorious. He who knows them not will fail. 12. Therefore, in your deliberations, when seeking to determine the military conditions, let them be made the basis of a comparison, in this wise. 13. 1. Which of the 2 sovereigns is imbued with the moral law? An example, is in harmony with his subjects. Cf. SS 5. 2. Which of the 2 generals has most ability? 3. With whom lie the advantages derived from heaven and earth? See SS 7, 8. On which side is discipline most rigorously enforced? Shu Mu alludes to the remarkable story of Cao Cao, AD 155 to 220, who was such a strict disciplinarian that once, in accordance with his own severe regulations against injury to standing crops, he condemned himself to death for having allowed him horse to shy into a field of corn. In lieu of losing his head, he was persuaded to satisfy his sense of justice by cutting off his hair. Cao Xiao's own comment on the present passage is charistically curt. When you lay down a law, see that it is not disobeyed. If it is disobeyed, the offender must be put to death. 5. Which army is stronger? Morally as well as physically, as Mei Yaxin puts it, freely rendered esprit de corps in big battalions. 6. On which side are officers and men more highly trained? Shu Zhu quotes Wang Zhu as saying, without constant practice, the officers will be nervous and undecided when mustering for battle. Without constant practice, the general will be wavering and irresolute when the crisis is at hand. 7. In which army is the greater consistency, both in reward and punishment? On which side is there the most absolute certainty that merit will be properly rewarded and misdeeds summarily punished? 14. By means of these 7 considerations, I can forecast victory or defeat. 15. The general that hearkens to my counsel and acts upon it will conquer. Let such a one be retained in command. The general that hearkens not to my counsel nor acts upon it will suffer defeat. Let such a one be dismissed. The form of this paragraph reminds us that Sun Tzu's treatise was composed expressly for the benefit of his patron Ho Lu, king of the Wu state. 16. While heading the prophet of my counsel, avail yourself also of any helpful circumstances over and beyond the ordinary rules. 17. According as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plans. Sun Tzu, a practical soldier, will have none of the bookish theoric. He cautions us here not to pin our faith to abstract principles. For, while the main laws of strategy can be stated clearly enough for the benefit of all and sundry, you must be guided by the actions of the enemy in attempting to secure a favorable position in actual warfare. On the eve of the Battle of Waterloo, Lord Uxbridge, commanding the cavalry, went to the Duke of Wellington in order to learn what his plans and calculations were for the morrow, because, as he explained, he might suddenly find himself commander-in-chief and would be unable to frame new plans in a critical moment. The Duke listened quietly and then said, "Who will attack the first tomorrow?" "Bonaparte." "Bonaparte," replied Lord Uxbridge. "Well," continued the Duke, "Bonaparte has not given me any idea of his projects, and as my plans will depend upon his, how can you expect me to tell you what are mine?" 18. All warfare is based on deception. The truth of this pithy and profound saying will be admitted by every soldier. Colonel Henderson tells us that Wellington, great in so many military qualities, was especially distinguished by the extraordinary skill with which he concealed his movements and deceived both friend and foe. 19. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. 20. Hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder and crush him. All commentators except Sheng Yu say when he is in disorder, crush him. It is more natural to suppose that Sun Tzu is still illustrating the uses of deception in war. 21. If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. 22. If your opponent of choleric temper seek to irritate him, pretend to be weak, that he may grow arrogant. Wang Tzu quoted by Chu Yu, says that the good tactician plays with his adversary as a cat plays with a mouse, first feigning weakness and immobility, and then suddenly pouncing upon him. 23. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. This is probably the meaning, though Mei Yao Shishin has the note, while we are taking our ease, wait for the enemy to tire himself out. The Yulan has lure him on and tire him out. If his forces are united, separate them. Less plausible is the interpretation favored by most of the commentators. If sovereign and subject are in accord, put division between them. 24. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. 25. These military devices leading to victory must not be divulged beforehand. 26. Now, the general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple ere the battle is fought. Shang Yu tells us that in ancient times, it was customary for a temple to be set apart for the use of a general who was about to take the field, in order that he might there elaborate his plan of campaign. The general who loses a battle makes but few calculations beforehand. Thus, do many calculations lead to victory, and few calculations to defeat? How much more no calculation at all? It is by attention to this point that I can foresee who is likely to win or lose. 1. Words on Wellington by Sir W. Fraser. The Art of War, Chapter 2. Waging War. Cao Ao Kung has the note, he who wishes to fight must first count the cost, which prepares us for the discovery that the subject of the chapter is not what we might expect from the title, but it's primarily a consideration of ways and means. 1. Sun Tzu said, in the operations of war, where there are in the field 1,000 swift chariots, as many heavy chariots, and 100,000 mail-clad soldiers. The swift chariots were lightly built, and according to Shang Yu, used for the attack, the heavy chariots were heavier and designed for purposes of defense. Li Xiong, it is true, says that the latter were light, but this seems hardly probable. It is interesting to note that the analogies between early Chinese warfare and that of the Homeric Greeks, in each case, the war chariot was the important factor, forming as it did the nucleus round which was grouped a certain number of foot soldiers. With regard to the numbers given here, we are informed that each swift chariot was accompanied by 75 footmen, and each heavy chariot by 25 footmen, so that the whole army would be divided up into 1,000 battalions, each consisting of 2 chariots and 100 men, with provisions enough to carry them 1,000 li. 2.78 modern li go to a mile. The length may have varied slightly since Sun Tzu's time. The expenditure at home and at the front, including entertainment of guests, small items such as glue and paint, and sums spent on chariots and armor, will reach the total of 1,000 ounces of silver per day. Such is the cost of raising an army of 100,000 men. 2. When you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long in coming, then men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor be damped. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. 3. Again, if the campaign is protracted, the resources of the state will not be equal to the strain. 4. Now, when your weapons are dulled, strength exhausted, and your treasure spent, other chieftains will spring up to take advantage of your extremity. Then, no man, however wise, will be able to avert the consequences that must ensue. 5. Thus, though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been seen associated with long delays. This concise and difficult sentence is not well explained by any of the commentators. Cao Hao Geng, Li Shuang, Ming Xi, Chu Yu, Chu Mu, and Mei Yao Xian have notes to the effect that a general, though naturally stupid, may nevertheless conquer through sheer force of rapidity. Ho Shi says, haste may be stupid, but at any rate it saves expenditure of energy and treasure. Protracted operations may be very clever, but they bring calamity in their train. Wing Zai evades the difficulty by remarking, lengthy operations mean an army growing old, wealth being expended, an empty exchequer in distress among the people. True cleverness ensures against the occurrence of such calamities. Shang Yu says, so long as victory can be attained, stupid haste is preferable to clever dilatoriness. Now, Sun Tzu says nothing whatever, except possibly by implication, about ill-considered haste being better than ingenious but lengthy operations. What he does say is something much more guarded, namely that, while speed may sometimes be injudicious, tardiness can never be anything but foolish, if only because it means impoverishment to the nation. In considering the point raised here by Sun Tzu, the classic example of Fabius Cunctator will inevitably occur to the mind. That general deliberately measured the endurance of Rome against that of Hannibal's isolated army, because it seemed to him that the latter was more likely to suffer from a long campaign in a strange country. But it is quite a moot question whether his tactics would have proved successful in the long run. Their reversal, it is true, led to Cannae, but this only establishes a negative presumption in their favor. 6. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. 7. It is only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. That is with rapidity. Only one who knows the disastrous effect of a long war can realize the supreme importance of rapidity in bringing it to a close. Only 2 commentators seem to favor this interpretation, but it fits well into the logic of the context, whereas the rendering. He who does not know the evils of war cannot appreciate its benefits is distinctly pointless. 8. The skillful soldier does not raise a second levy, neither are his supply wagons loaded more than twice. Once war is declared, he will not waste precious time in waiting for reinforcements, nor will he return his army back for fresh supplies, but crosses the enemy's frontier without delay. This may seem an audacious policy to recommend, but with all great strategists, from Julius Caesar to Napoleon Bonaparte, the value of time, that is, being a little ahead of your opponent, counted for more than either numerical superiority or the nicest calculations with regard to commissariat. 9. Bring war material with you from home, but forage on the enemy. Thus the army will have food enough for its needs. The Chinese word translated here as war material literally means things to be used, and it's meant in the widest sense. It includes all the impedimenta of an army apart from provisions. 10. Poverty of the state exchequer causes an army to be maintained by contributions from a distance. Contributing to maintain an army at a distance causes the people to be impoverished. The beginning of this sentence does not balance properly with the next, though obviously intended to do so. The arrangement, moreover, is so awkward that I cannot help suspecting some corruption in the text. It never seems to occur to Chinese commentators that an indentation may be necessary for the sense, and we get no help from them there. The Chinese words Sun Tzu, used to indicate the cause of the people's impoverishment, clearly have reference to some system by which the husbandmen sent their contributions of corn to the army direct. But why should it fall on them to maintain an army in this way, except because the state or government is too poor to do so? 11. On the other hand, the proximity of an army causes prices to go up, and high prices cause the people's substance to be drained away. Magee says high prices occur before the army has left its own territory. Cao Kung understands it of an army that has already crossed the frontier. 12. When their substance is drained away, the peasantry will be afflicted by heavy exactions. 13. 14. With this loss of substance and exhaustion of strength, the homes of the people will be stripped bare, and 3/10 of their income will be dissipated. Chu Mu and Wang Zi agree that the people are not mulcted, not of 3/10 but of 7/10 of their income, but this is hardly to be extracted from our text. Ho Shi has a characteristic tag, the people being regarded as the essential part of the state, and food as the people's heaven. Is it not right that those in authority should value and be careful of both? While government expenses for broken chariots, worn-out horses, breastplates and helmets, bows and arrows, spears and shields, protective mantles, drought oxen and heavy wagons will amount to 4/10 of its total revenue. 15. Hence, a wise general makes a point of foraging on the enemy. 1 cartload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own, and likewise of his provender is equivalent to 20 from one's own store. 16. Now, in order to kill the enemy, our men must be roused to anger, that there may be advantage from defeating the enemy. They must have their rewards. Chu Mu says, rewards are necessary in order to make the soldiers see the advantage of beating the enemy. Thus, when you capture spoils from the enemy, they must be used as rewards so that all your men may have a keen desire to fight, each on his own account. 17. Therefore, in chariot fighting, when 10 or more chariots have been taken, those should be rewarded who took the first. Our own flags should be substituted for those of the enemy, and the chariots mingled and used in conjunction with ours. The captured soldiers should be kindly treated and kept. 18. This is called using the conquered foe to augment one's own strength. 19. In war, then, let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns. As Ho Shi remarks, war is not a thing to be trifled with. Sun Tzu here reiterates the main lesson which this chapter is intended to enforce. 20. Thus it may be known the leader of armies is the arbiter of the people's fate, the man on whom it depends whether the nation shall be in peace or in peril.